Hi, this is Roger, thanks for dropping by. Last spring this Scots pine was actually repotted for the first time in a very long time, and there was some quite heavy pruning geared up to trying to get it to backbud and thicken up the branches where they've got very straggly, and some of it's worked well, some of it is okay, and some of it didn't work. That's conifers for you. They will often just do their own growing despite trying to force them to grow in certain places, and like I say, some of it's worked well and some of it hasn't worked so well. Now this area over here is supposed to be a lower layer that should have a nice pad, and it hasn't. There's some bits sticking up at the back that are spoiling the shape of this bit, and for this bit to come forward I'm quite happy with. So there's some bits to come off around the back there. This one would be the next layer up, and to make it look like a layer there's a couple of lower branches just need to come off. Yeah, these are hanging down and filling that gap that shouldn't be there. But basic shape. This is a single branch over this side, but I had some advice when I belonged to the Bonsai Society. I could actually get two branches out of that in appearance, and actually trying to get a lower branch going here, but it is in fact the same branch, and then get another pad here which would balance that tree nicely. Well, the lower part isn't working very well, so I'm going to have to try and encourage it a bit. And again, I've got bits sticking up that are extending the pad upwards that I don't want, but trying to get this bit to thicken up is going to be difficult, and it may not work, but I've got to give it a go. And then this bit here, looking from the front, isn't too bad. I mean, some of the pruning here has actually produced multiple buds in places, so that's not bad at all. The upper canopy has got a little bit of shaping to do. It's coming out a bit too far here. That needs to be pushed back, and this is good because this is two incredibly vigorous branches that if I take back will backbud. You know, given what happened last year, the vigorous branches were taken back hoping for some backbudding, leaving more energy to go in the weaker parts of the tree. You have to appreciate with a tree there's an overall energy with the whole tree coming up from the base and pushing outwards, and it will always push into the vigorous places first. They're like sap drawers. They suck the sap into those areas because they have the strongest path. So there's several ways to prune conifers. There's what I did last year, which was branch selection, where some branches were taken back quite hard to encourage the back buds and help get a bit of shape back. Two-way process going on there. And then the next way to prune is called candle pinching, which basically, these are called candles, they don't look much like it yet, but they will as they grow. See, they look a bit like this. So they start to extend up. Those candles will grow to a certain extent based on the energy they're given. Yeah, so a branch that's got 2 or 3 candles is going to draw quite a bit of energy. Yeah, a branch that's only got 1 candle will need a bit of help. Yeah, so you've got bud selection, you know, where there are 3, or in some cases 2, and you only want 1. We'll take the strongest bud out, and that will push the energy into the other one. If you want a branch to extend dramatically, take the weaker bud out and let the stronger one go. If you want both buds to go, or all 3, so be it. But it's all geared up to a matter of balancing the energy throughout the whole tree. And obviously the strongest part of a tree is always at the top. The branches near the top always want to be the apex of the tree. In theory, every single branch wants to be the apex of the tree, but the tree will select which ones it wants to grow on vigorously, and it will suppress buds in other areas. So to stop that suppression, you take those branches out. Yeah? And then those suppression elements, auxins I think they're called, don't push back and suppress the other buds, because they're just gone. Yeah, so there's that way of doing it. Once these candles extend, you've got candle pinching, whereby you can select how long you want the branch to be. So if we took this bud for example, if this branch extended up to here this year, it would look silly. So as the candle extends, you decide roughly how long you want that branch to be and pinch the candle out. You can pinch it out right near the base, and then where you've pinched the candle out, new bud or buds will form to grow on for the following year. Yeah, so there's quite a few ways of pruning a conifer, and as I said, I've got some pretty hefty, strong branches in places that I want to suppress. Otherwise, they're going to stop the other buds extending so well. So this one needs to come right back here, as does that one, because they're extending too far out. That'll get me a better shape to the top, and then it's just a matter of allowing that shape to form as the years go on. There's another long branch here that's going to extend that canopy too much, so we'll take that one back a bit. Not too much, about half, and then buds should form somewhere behind there. Yeah, and this year I've got far less branches that need that branch selection done. There are only a couple, so I think the easiest way for me is to do it and then say what I've done, because otherwise I've got to set the tripod up and I haven't got a huge amount of time today. I've gained some time. This was deemed a travel day for those that watch on my orchid channel. I'm supposed to be going out to pick my daughter up, but she forgot she had a prior commitment during the day, so I don't need to be up to her place till late afternoon. So I've got more time today than I expected, so I thought I'd give this a go before these buds get too far advanced and I lose my chance. So and this tree now should have re-established its root system during last year and on through the winter, as roots on conifers carry on growing a bit. They don't stop like a lot of the deciduous ones do. They grow very slowly, but they don't stop altogether. That's why they keep their needles. The other type of pruning, which I don't tend to do very often, is called needle pulling. And as you can see, this branch has a lot of needles. Well, that's drawing an awful lot of energy. But don't forget, the needles are the way that this type of tree produces its photosynthesis. So there's some food being generated by a branch that big. But to reduce its strength, you pull a number of needles off. And sometimes you'll get buds where those needles have been removed. Not always, but sometimes. They have to be pulled off very carefully, not cut. If you cut the needles, you'll get a brown stump. The little bit of needle you leave behind will turn brown and die, and it looks awful. So you pull them away from the branch. It's a technique. You just sort of bend them backwards, give them a tug. And once you've done a couple, you think, this is quite easy, and then you start over pulling and strip half the bark off. But yeah, so I'm going to give this one a go and sort of reshape it. So I thought I'd film it first, and then I'll go back over what I've done afterwards and why. I've changed my mind. I'm going to try and film the trimming, because next year there won't be much of this, I'm hoping anyway. That's as far as I've got, so I mean, you haven't missed much. And I've zoomed in, and hopefully I can electronically brighten it so that you can see it a bit better, because I know it's a bit dark with the light coming in from the other side. So on this particular branch, I've taken this end off because I've got 3 back buds here which will now thicken up. This one I'm dubious about altogether, because I want this out here and I don't want to obscure that gentle curve here, because this is part of the structure of the tree. So I'm going to try taking that one right off. Okay, and it looks a bit abrupt at the moment, but you have to bear in mind there's 3 or 4 buds here, another back bud back here. So I don't want to do too much more to this apart from look at the height. I need a gap here. Yeah, I need a gap, and this bit is sticking up. But I've got a smashing new bud. In fact, I think there's 2 there. Yes, there is. So there's 2 buds there, which we can encourage to grow. and any dead bits I see, I take them off while I can get at them, because once these branches thicken up they're not so easy to handle. Okay, so I've got my gap back and I've got some new growth near the apex of what will become a pad. Now this lower branch down here is not working very well in my eyes line, and the main reason it's not working very well is that bit there. So that bit's coming off. It's a bit drastic because it's got a lovely bud on the top of it, but I've got to get this line back. How am I going to achieve it? See, originally, before the branch was wired, this branch was more like that, and it was actually wired to twist it to get this part to point downwards. And to get this to work, I may need to wire it again and actually drop that down. I may need to do that. I'll have a think about that. That's quite a dramatic bend to the branch. It's quite a springy, large branch. That'll take some chunky wire, and it'll probably have to stay there about a year and a half. The good thing about these craggy bark type things is if you wire the a branch and the wire leaves marks, the bark grows into those marks, and it actually makes them look even more gnarly and, you know, more ancient. So it's not too bad. You apply heavy wire to things like maples and scar that bark, you'll live with them scars for a very long time, and it can really spoil the look of a tree. So I'm still not quite sure about this lower branch. Well, this bit's sticking out and it has 3 buds behind it, so we'll take that off. Now that makes it look weaker, but I've got 3 or 4, well, in this area here I've got 6 buds to grow on, so that could work nicely. I'm wondering whether, if this gets too thin and spindly, it's not going to work. So I'm going to see what that branch does now. The only thing I do need to do is, this might go out of focus, but round the back is some quite strong growth. Let's have a look and see if you're still looking at it. Yeah, not too bad. So round here I've got some quite strong growth, and this is no good to me. It's heading out here, which from the front of the tree, from this side of the tree, just, it doesn't show and it doesn't look very good. So I'm wondering whether to even try taking it off. I've got 2 buds here. I need those needles to draw the sap down there. I think I'm just going to take that off. This spindly bit down here is either going to grow or it's not. If it doesn't grow, I will bring it back up and put it in with the rest of the branch, and I'll do without a branch in this area. It's not the end of the world. I never had it once, to go back to not having it again. The chances of this long spindly bit actually producing back buds are virtually 0. Unfortunately, that's probably true of this bit as well. So I'm not sure this branch is working that well. Let's have another look at it from the front. It isn't working that well. I'm just going to take half of it off because it's pointing in the wrong direction, and I'm going to leave it at that for now because it's not a strong branch. This whole branch, even though it's in 2 pieces, is not that strong, so I need another year on this to push that on. Right, I'll have to move the camera again now. Okay, now to do this I'm going to get in the way of the camera, I know that, but you're down at the line of sight. This is supposed to be 2 separate branches, yeah, with a distinct gap between them, both of which need to thicken up, yeah, but this branch here is just in the way, and it's spoiling that gap through there. So I think I'm going to take it off. I'm not sure these little scissors will cut through that, but yes they will. Well, that's what they're designed to do. You need to get that back a bit because it's a bit stumpy at the moment. That's it. Now that branch looks like it grows out of here. now I've got my gap back. Now all I'm doing now is looking at trying to create a flat pad here, so anything that sticks up that's not part of that really has to go. And last year I wouldn't have dreamt of doing this because I wanted to get some energy back into the tree, but this year I'm more happy about trying to create that pad. And this is a branch to nothing, but it's got a tiny little shoot there and the possibility of a bud there, so I can take it off and see if those two buds will push on. It looks a bit abrupt at the moment, but we'll see what happens. And believe it or not, this long straggly bit out the back looks like it's got a bud halfway down it, so I'm going to try and push that on. Okay. Now if these two little buds here and this one grow, that brings that back into shape. We've got a dead bit there, we'll have that off while we're at it. Now we have to look at crossing branches, and I've got a bad one. Two branches here, but this is a good branch with a nice strong bud on it. This little thing behind it is a waste of space, so that's the one that goes. Yeah, pick the best one if two branches are crossing over. So I'm just finding a few dead bits lurking around. Dieback, can't help that. Right, so I don't want to take any more branches off of this, but what I do want to do now is the same as I did last year, which is look for the most vigorous branches and push them back into the tree to get the smaller buds farther back down the branch. Like this one here was taken back and it's pushed out several buds farther back now. And then we'll have a look at bud trimming. Now it would be really nice to get that one to bud part way back. So I'm going to take that one back and see if I can get a couple of buds. This is far too dominant and it's at the bottom of the structure. So again, I'm going to push that one back, and there is a sign that there could be some budding already thinking about coming out on that one. So we'll take that one back. Now what have I got left that's vigorous? I've got this bit here. Now that's got a bud here and another one in there. So I'm going to take the tip off, and push those two smaller ones. Because don't forget they're going to grow upwards. I'm trying to keep this gap, not actually grow things into it and fill it up again. I'm trying to keep this one down here. So obviously anything vigorous that sticks up in the air has got to come off. But I don't want to take all the vigour out of the branch. Now this is the next vigorous branch by quite a lot. So we'll have a go at pushing that one back this year. And hopefully get several back down there, and then when they grow up they thicken the whole area up. This is weak here, very thin on the ground, but like I said, there's a couple of buds. They'll fill that gap in nicely with any luck. Okay, for this year, what else have I got? I've got a vigorous, is that two branches? No. See, again, I've got two quite vigorous buds right out on the end of the pad. That's okay, because they can have their candles pinched. So I'll allow them to grow up and then pinch them back and get several buds at the base of where these candles are now. So next year there could be 2, 3 growths here instead of one. Right, I've only got one more long one, which is this one, and that one's going to come back to there. And that's all I'm going to do on that branch. I'm just looking at where the buds are, because that's where the growth's going to now start to grow upwards. Even those that point towards the camera like that, they will turn and grow upwards. So everything growing upwards now is roughly in the same plane. That branch will thicken up nicely now. Now let's have a look at this one. Spindly looking little thing. Now this one, I'd like more of a dome shape to it, because it's got to fill two gaps here. So this branch here has got a bit of work to do. And it needs to thicken up, but what I don't want is it extending out past this. It's got to be smaller. This should form a nice curve up to the apex. So obviously you can see this bit here is the awkward bit. Now I need to look at where the buds are. The end can come off. That will push everything into what's left. This branch, complete with spider, has 2 buds halfway down it. So let's get them going. It only looks like 1 from the camera's point of view, but there are 2 there. So that will now grow off in 2 directions. This one's got a nice back bud here, which I'll let grow. What have we got here? Not a lot on that branch, that's weak. But there's one farther back. There's a nice bud halfway back down that branch, so we'll have that one. This branch is probably not going to grow. It has no bud on the end of it. It's incredibly weak, but give it a chance. It may do. This one's got a dead end with a bud below it coming out the side, so that was probably pruned back last year. There's no point in leaving the extension on. How are we doing now? Let me just have a look at the camera, because I may well be. Let me just raise you up a little bit to the branch we're working on. And now at that angle you can see what I'm trying to get at. I'm trying to get a nice uniform curve for those 3 branches. So the idea with this tree is it was hit by lightning and it's on the side of a mountain and all the wind is pushing it and pushing it. So everything on this side is going with the wind. So these branches need to be the best ones. They're the ones that are sheltered from the harshness of the mountainside. It's all flipping theory, isn't it? But you know, that is part of the art of bonsai, is to make a tree look like it's weathered, if you know what I mean. So on this branch here, it's too tall. But if I take the height out of that, what have I got left? The answer is not a lot. But like I did last year, pick on the most vigorous branches, which is this one, and push them back. And hopefully get a few more buds part way back. And if you get multiple buds on a long branch like that, you've got thickness to the branch. And then this one here is touching up against that one. I can't keep both, so I'll push this one back even harder. And then if that one buds, you can see through the gap. The buds on this one will be there, the buds on that one will be farther out. It's still a little bit high. This is a very dominant branch here. Remember what I said? Everything tries to climb to the top of the tree and push an apex up. And that's what this branch is trying to do. And if it does that, it will be too tall. Because it's vigorous, I'm going to see if I'm a good mind to take that branch off, you know. The trouble is I don't want to leave a hole in the middle here with nothing. Which I'll get, if I took this whole branch out, that's what I would have. I'd have a hollow in the middle and nothing over the top, no sort of canopy to the dome. So that one's going to be difficult. I think I might have to wait another year, but we'll push this one back while we're there. That takes some of the height away. Now, do I risk taking that one off? Don't think I've got a choice. It's too tall. Yeah, we'll let the other buds fill in the gap. So we'll take that one out. Now, do I need to do anything else? Answer no. That's all I need to do to that. Right, let's move the camera again and get up to the top of the tree, the apex. Okay, this is not bad at all. I need a slight slope on this apex to bring it in line with this business of the harshness of the winter, pushing this over this way. That's why this branch on the left hand side is curled downwards. It's been forced back into the trunk. It's all theory, and some people say total rubbish, but that's what it's all about. It's supposed to be an art form. So all I need to do with this is thicken it, and quite honestly it's doing it on its own. I know somebody who'd enjoy this sort of thing. Rick, if you're watching, this is what controlled growing's all about. Far more serious than you could ever do on an orchid, but this is what it's all about. It's trying to push the growth you want and inhibit the stuff you don't want, whereas on orchids you tend to want all of it. Yeah, there's a subtle difference. So this is a lovely dense area. Apart from that bit, I'm just going to take that top of that lead out, and then that will give those bits that are left a chance to spread. So that's a nice little area there. Have I got too much sticking out here? Yes. So we'll push that one back and hopefully get several buds back down here to fill in here. I don't want to take too much off of here and ruin its vigour, but I do have some pretty strong branches that I want to take back in. That's not bad. Certainly don't want to do any more on that side. What's there now can be left to do its thing, to be thought about later when these candles push up. Now I'm looking at an apex that's working. Last year this wasn't there, this year it is there, so I can be a bit more ruthless up here. Now with this whole idea of pushing this back, weathered backwards, you know, this is where you'd get your wires out and bend all these branches in, and yeah, but I personally don't like wiring bonsai. But although this branch is nicely curved and it's got some shape to it, it's got two spindly little bits on it that are not really serving any purpose anymore. Good way to test what a tree will look like without branches is hide them and see what's left and see if you like it. The trouble is I do like this curved branch coming down, but with the bits stuck out the end like that, it's never going to work. I think we're going to have to lose that. Been there a while, that bit. Oh, that is a bit big for me little scissors here. Get some leverage, that's better. That's not bad. Now as far as vigour is concerned, dead bit, let's get at that. Weak but 2 buds, weak but 3 buds, weak with 3 buds in total. So although this area is weak, it's got quite a lot of buds to push on this year, so we'll let them do that. As far as height's concerned, not too bad. Not too bad. I need that one down. That'll thicken up. Hopefully down there, and then those buds will come out here. Try and fill this. There is a little gap here, but it isn't really, because if you look inside, there's actually branches with buds on that are going to extend into that area this year. So certainly my back budding on this worked quite well last year, and I don't think I'm going to do any more. Not to this apex. I've got one branch down here that's effectively crossing, that does have a single bud. Or is that a spider? No, it's a bud. So I'm going to take that fork off, and hopefully that bud will push. Another crossing branch here. So what have we got? No buds on that bit. No buds on that bit. But if I can get some buds on that one, I'll densen that bit up. And this other little one has got a bud, so that was a good choice. I didn't see that. That could have lost me a bud. They're precious. So I'd love to get a couple of shoots lower down on some of these branches, but I doubt if I will. So the object is to just thicken this up until I get a nice dense platform, you know, nice and even. And that's several years away yet, but that's about it. Yeah, that will do. So quick trim on that one, and the next thing I'll do on here is I will watch for incredibly vigorous candles, and those can be pinched back. Yeah, especially where there's 2, like here. Is that in shot? Where's my camera? Yes, it is. There's 2 here. One's strong, one's not so strong. So as they extend, the stronger one can be pinched back quite hard, and then the weaker one will push on a bit better. And the one that's pinched back will probably produce 1 or 2 buds. We've then got 3 little branches coming out of the top of there. Same with this one, vigorous one, not so vigorous one. So when they get up to about 1.5 inches, the theory is that they grow like candles and then suddenly their little needles start to show. Well, that's a good time to pinch them. Yeah. If you want to take buds out, you know, like if you had a branch with 4 at the top and you only want 2, well, just bend the buds back and they'll break off. It's an easy way to remove buds entirely. I haven't got enough to be taking buds out. All I can do is encourage the ones I've got to grow. And yeah, this tree's slowly but surely coming back. Another 2 years, I reckon, I'll be somewhere near where it once was. Takes time. Yeah, I mean, you have to bear in mind that to get a quality, show quality bonsai tree, you're looking at 30+ years. And in some cases, with some of the slower growing conifers, maybe even 50 years. Well, you can buy one like that if you want, but what you're going to pay for is 50 years worth of time put in to get it how it was. You know, if you think of 50 years worth of what I've just done, okay, that only took a few minutes, but you know, there'll be some more work to do. So you're paying for somebody to look after a tree for 50 years, repot it frequently, trim it, water it. All that time is what you're paying for. That's why the quality bonsai are so expensive. And you go on somewhere like Heron Bonsai, Peter Chan's site, and have a look at the specimen plants, you're looking at £4,000 or £5,000 because of the amount of time that's gone into them to get them like that. Or you can pay a couple of quid for a stick in a pot and do it yourself for 30 years. Those are your choices. Anyway, a little trim on that one. And this one's coming on now, it's coming back. It's being pulled back into shape from quite a few years of neglect. See you next time.